Yeah, here's some more trivia. On the front of the early Smog days, they had this valve right here on the front of the manifold, and it's got 4 valves. So it works off vacuum, but there's also this part down here that will open and close depending on if the engine is warm or cold. Well, anyway, here's a picture of a old manifold I had. It's on my computer, and here's that an instance of that valve. Yeah, I'm trying to explain to anybody that cares and put it together myself. But again, I was talking that last picture. I think this is shot over some time, but there's a lot of pieces or a lot of valves that are stuck into the I call them smogger manifolds. Now here's the one that I showed. I think has 4 ports. Here's another one that has 2 ports, and they go to various locations. But to clarify this, again, this is all might all be out of order and so on because I'm putting a bunch of videos together. But basically, the same way a thermostat works, when it gets warm, the thermostat opens and lets cool water into the engine. But when it's hot, I mean, when it's, I don't know what I just said, but when it's cold, it's not letting any cold air in, and cold water in, because it's trying to warm up the engine. But once it gets warm, it needs to get rid of the hot water, so the valve opens. So think of those as this. So in this case, we're talking about the distributor. And then, again, I lost track of what I'm talking about, but there's actually 3 different kinds of vacuum that is the terms that are used. And I only see 2 of them here, but there's manifold vacuum and port vacuum. There's also Ventura vacuum. Again, if you know all the stuff, just turn it off. But basically, when your engine's sitting still, there's no vacuum. I mean, when it's off, there's no vacuum, right? But once you start your engine, the pistons start sucking air in through the carburetor. That's what sucks the fuel in. And it depends on how much the throttle valve is open, on how much vacuum you're going to get. So here is the throttle valve on the very bottom of the carburetor. You don't look at the picture in the background. When you step on the gas, it opens that throttle valve up. And when it opens it up, it allows certain ports inside the vacuum, inside the carburetor. There's little holes that go to the float valve. The float, I'm not sure how to put the term, but it allows more fuel to come in. You want a certain amount of fuel at idle. You want a certain amount of fuel at when you're punching it. And you want a different mixture when it's cold, and you want a different mixture when it's hot, because cold fuel burns different than hot fuel, and that's what smog's all about. But anyway, getting back to what I was trying to explain here, the chances are you get a car and these things are all disconnected, and you start wondering what is all this junk. So I'm just going to go over this one. I'm trying to go over this one thing, and it kind of explains how all this stuff works. So we're talking about this one. This has 2 ports. I mean, it works the same principle as the 4 valve. But anyway, so it if you look at this drawing, well, I'll do the best I can to explain it. So it's like a thermostat, except it's not letting water come in. So there's a valve in here. When the car gets hot enough, it'll allow manifold vacuum to come up through, it'll open, and it'll go down to your distributor and activate the vacuum advance. Again, this is all Smog stuff. But it's just, if you're wondering what all this junk is on your manifold, and I think I go into it a little bit further, showing different pictures and so on. That's how this thing works. That's how this one works. That's how this one works. That's how this one works. And look, they're all intertwined. But let's just go one more step further. You notice this one's manifold. Let's see if any of these go to ported. This one goes, there's the one to ported. There's another one to ported. Now in this case, I shouldn't be talking about all this, but then you get the charcoal canister, which is basically trying to capture unburnt fuel. I guess that's enough about that. But I think there's some more information ahead. But if you got a, yeah, one more thing. If you got a stock car, chances are you're going to see all this junk on your car. Now I live in a county that we don't have smog checks. In Washington State, Thurston County, I don't have to have smog checks. If you're in a place like California, you're pretty much screwed, because they're going to more than likely on your engine bay, and I can't remember right now. Yeah, I think on the radiator support, there's a picture of what is concerned. They're going to check. They're going to say, hey, is all this stuff hooked up? And then, according to some values, they're going to hook up a smog, an emissions tester, to see if the fuel's burning to the extent that California allowed it that year. They're not going to go to the newer standards. They're going to go to the 76 standards. So, anyway, nowadays they have computerized systems, and they got rid of a lot of this junk, because you can control the smog better with a computer. You know, you don't need to rely on vacuum, even though there might be vacuum connections. You're relying on other types of systems. In a nutshell, that's what I'm trying to say. I got a question, anybody that watched my video. Does anybody, anywhere, have one of these? This came on this car. They don't sell them. I haven't seen them on another car. I'm just curious. So I don't know if you can see this, but I got, again, we're going back to the rivets to hold the window trim on, and I need to put them in. And I got two different kinds. I got the rivet kind and I got the screw kind. So this is going to be my next video. It's 3:45 in the afternoon. I didn't come down here early. So anyway, it's the first one says use the 7/64 drill bit. Well, you know, it says 7/64 here, but that doesn't mean it is. It actually says and no larger. So I think I pulled one out already. Let me just double check. So this reads in fractions, decimals, and millimeters. That is 3/32. So that'll work for the screw type. I'll put that on top of it. And the 7/64, then you can zero it, so 0. Then fractions, 7/64. Yeah, so I'm getting old. I can't see. So I got this magnifying glass in front of the wheel. I don't know if anybody's interested. But I got these offline. Let like I say, sometimes when I use this, it's in between, and I don't know what it means. So I just look at this chart. Well, for one thing, this first one shows what size drill bit for what size tap hole. This is a fractional decimal conversion chart. So if I put this on decimal and zero it out, let's just see how good it works. So it says it says 0.107. So the closest one is 0.109. That's 7/64. The next lowest is 0.093, and the next highest is 125. So anyway, that's like, I'm just throwing a little piece of trivia here. You see this right here? I've been wondering, and I'll show you the detail on the diagram, but see, there's no flares, but that's an air dam. That's different than other cars. See where it curves in and it ends right there? And I've been wondering what that part is right there. Part 67. There it is. Just trivia. Piece of trivia. You know, like I said, I don't work on cars all the time. This is just a car for fun. But I always wondered how these clips snap onto here. But if you think about it, if I put it here, you know, you're flush up here. So the bottom has nothing to do with it. It's this top piece right here. It snaps into that lip. You can see that. So when I push it down, it's going to snap in and lock into that lip. I don't have the right tool to take it off, but so watch this. Let me see. See, it's way up because the glass and the other stuff, but so I just need to reach in and push that thing back, but I don't have the right tool, but I can just go like this. Anyway, so that piece slips into that lip. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that because see this little hole right here? That's the choke. So when the choke is enriching or not enriching, I guess I don't know the other term, right into this port. Now, I guess the point I'm making, this is more, this is a Smogger manifold. So I switched mine to a 74, and then I'm going to put an electronic choke. But another thing, one more thing, these get plugged up a lot with soot. So your choke might not even work. If you have that problem and you're in this year, take your carburetor off and clean that out. You can see right here, I touched upon this last time when I was searching through my parts. That is the factory spark plug Loom connector. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. It's bolted to the valve cover, right? Is the wheel flare, if you can see my mouse. And this is the dam. So I think earlier in this video, I can't remember because this is over a couple days, there's two different kinds of dams. I think I called it part 47 or something in an earlier video, or 57. That's not this dam. Remember, that one went round. Yeah, there's another shot of that car. that vacuum I was talking about, that valve. So let me see if I can make it bigger. They're at different heights. So in this case, they call this 3/16 manifold vacuum. That's the lowest one on this carburetor. So I bet you if you were to flip this carburetor over, there'd be a hole directly straight down into the manifold. This is to get a leaner mix. Leaner means less emissions. You know, when you see a rich car, I don't know, but it's young. I mean, yeah, young, but in the old days, you'd see cars with black smoke coming out the back. That's a rich mixture that's not burning. But anyway, if you're interested in this article, it's at chevelstuff.net. Here's a picture of that valve, a side view, a cutaway. So just to make it clear, it's screwed into your manifold, but it's not actually, there's not actually a hole into the manifold. There's just a sensor that opens kind of like a thermostat. So below that is manifold vacuum. So if you look at these three gauges here, again, this is all smog and air related information that I'm trying to give, and then I'll read a little bit below. But if you notice, this valve, this butterfly is just starting to open, but you notice that the manifold vacuum, it's 25. Again, this is just an example. As the butterfly starts opening, even though it's 25 down here, it's like 7 right there. But up in the venturi, it's a little bit higher because it's speeding up. Again, it's not, it's, the vacuum is sucking air into the carburetor. Okay, some more trivia. In one of my early videos, I show that I went to the Trans Am, I call it, or Pontiac Firebird Graveyard, where the guy had a bunch of exhaust manifolds. I picked this up for $60. This is what they used in the early days. You notice they're big ports. So a stock exhaust manifold is just, they're smaller, they're tight. But what I don't like about this, it's got 1, 2, 3, that bolt is missing, 4 or 5 holes. But anyway, the numbers are worn off right here, but this is a GM3. So there's a left and a right. And if you notice, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 holes on this one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 holes on this one. These were the, I'm not sure what year Smog started. See, I had a 69 Roadrunner. I had something, I can't remember what it was. There was hardly anything. But basically, this is the other end of the vacuum. This is getting rid of all the exhaust. So basically, they're kind of like fighting each other. One end of the Smog is trying to restrict the mixture. This one is trying to get rid of it fast. The bigger the ports, the easier the flow, the faster it gets rid of it.